start all over here, and I'm probably going to just upload the new video up in our Facebook page, because if you have that other page open, it just kind of goes crazy. All right. Thanks, everyone, for being so patient, you guys. So what I was saying is we met Jen here in our Advo Bowl. It was a couple months ago, and this was the first time we met her. She's new to Phoenix. She's new leadership to Phoenix. And when I heard her story of, working a full-time job, having 7 kids, between her and her husband, and being able to build this business to the Ruby leadership level, I just, the time management totally stuck out to me. And she actually had talked about how important time management was for her to be able to build this business. So I am so honored that she's taking time out of her day, you guys, to be able to come to us and train us on time management, how she's been able to build this business. I mean, they have earned incentive trips. They have earned a really high leadership level in Advocare. And so, Jen, thank you so much. If you can just kind of start off and just sharing your journey with Advocare, when you started, kind of how you saw the business unfold with Advocare and how it could benefit your family, that would be awesome.
Sure. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Marcy, and thank you to your whole team for having me on here. I really appreciate it. So for us with Advocare, actually back in 2013, I was introduced to Spark by my daycare provider. My little boy was 2, and he was being watched because I was working night shift so that my husband could keep him at home. And then I was going through the nursing program during the day. So my schedule was crazy busy. We actually were running a youth baseball and softball program at the time. So every waking moment outside of not working or going to school was spent at the ball field. So my daycare provider was working Advocare as a business, and she gave me Spark samples. They sat on my counter. I didn't do energy drinks. It's funny because she actually asked if she could do an Advocare booth at our opening ceremonies, and I just, I don't care, do your thing. So I actually came out to the Spark booth, and I was sparked up by her leader, who happened to be Levi Thomas, who is now my diamond leader. And 15 minutes later, after drinking the Spark, I just said, whatever that stuff is, it's amazing. I need it. So signed up for a discount. And back then, there was no preferred customer. So I signed up as a distributor because I didn't pay retail for anything, honestly, like total clearance rack shopper. So, they shared with me the business opportunity, but honestly, at that time, that was the last thing on my mind. I was in the nursing program. I worked really hard to get to that point in my life. Little backstory on that is that I had been divorced, had 2 teenage sons, got remarried, accumulated 4 stepchildren automatically. And so my 2 boys as a single mom turned into remarried family of 6 and decided to combine our little Brady bunch and had one together. So saying I was busy was definitely true. It's just that I've learned in the process, the definition of busy is different for everybody. So that day, walked away with my Spark in FedEx mode on the way, coming, and absolutely loved it. I was able to switch a 3-a-day Dutch Bros habit, which is apparently growing here in Arizona. It's huge in Oregon. So I was going through Dutch Bros drive-through 3 times a day, which is absurd. But for somebody that said that they couldn't afford to do a 24-day jumpstart, but could afford $300 worth of coffee a month, a little crazy. But so yeah, I drank Spark, shared it with nurses and stuff at work, some of my schoolmates, completely unintentionally. I wanted to do a 24-day jumpstart, but I honestly didn't have any money. I mean, my checks were getting garnished by 25% because of my ex-husband. So my current husband said, if you really want to do that thing, get to that 40% discount and I'll even do it with you. So I called Levi and just said, so what's this 40% thing? What does that look like? And, basically back then that was $3,000 to, get to advisor. And he basically shared with me, get 10 people to join a challenge with you and, you can get there. So that's what I did. I mean, okay. So made that happen and then got on product. So June of 2013, we started on product, did a 180. And in 90 days, my husband was able to lose 70 pounds. And I lost 23 pounds. And we were just literally unintentionally walking billboards. Like, people would ask us all the time, like, what do you, like, they'd see us at Home Depot and I'd get a text message. Oh my gosh, you guys look amazing. Oh, thanks. Yeah, we're doing this thing. And, you know, it was a lot of fun, honestly. Like, I got my first check from Advocare. It was $93.43. Didn't know why I got paid, kind of called freaking out saying, you know, why am I getting money? But it was fun. It was a lot of fun, you know, just sharing with people and seeing other people switch their coffee habits to, you know, nothing intentional. I got invited to go to Ladies Alive that 2013. It was in October. I had just finished my nursing program. I had just done my state boards, and I would love nothing more than to have a weekend with just the girls. So I went, and that was my first time really seeing Advocare outside of Spark and product. You know, I walked out of that event with a knowledge of knowing that there was more out there, but I didn't really know for sure if it was for me. I got a little bit more intentional with sharing with some closer people in my family, you know, some close friends and stuff, and learned what a 3-way phone call was. But in August of 2014 is when life changed. So August of 2014, I was fired from my job over the phone, completely unexpected. I did not see it coming. I had worked for that company at that hospital for 8.5 years. And by a simple phone call, I lost my job. And at that time, I was bringing in, you know, $200, $500 from Advocare, nothing serious in a way. Like, it wasn't anything that was like fluid income. I was spending it as fast as I made it because I never had money like that, you know. I hung up the phone with my manager, and my husband just looked at me and he said, maybe you need to get more intentional with that Advocare thing, because I watched Levi go from making $5,000 a month to $15,000 a month building a business with Advocare. So I saw what was possible. I just didn't believe in myself enough to know that I could do the same thing as well. So 2014, I decided to say yes. I actually did not go to Success School until 2015. But, you know, I started hosting 3-way phone calls, and I started hosting the mixers, and I started sharing intentionally. Instead of saying, it's Advocare, I started saying, we did, you know, a 24-day jumpstart. We did a 180. This has completely changed our lives. And if you're interested, I would love to help you get to 40%. And, you know, just really sharing intentionally. It completely changed our lives. I mean, I started bringing in, you know, instead of $200 to $300 a month, I started bringing in $1,000 a month. And my husband was like, okay, so this is real money now, and we need to make a decision on what we're going to do. So 2015, we walked out of Success School with a mindset of getting out of debt if we wanted to create a better future for ourselves. So we came home, and my husband wrote down on a Post-it note how much debt we had, what that looked like, what we needed to pay off, and we used the Debt Buster system. And Advocare allowed us to pay off $56,000 in credit card debt. We paid off my student loan. We paid off 2 different vehicles, and it's just really put us in a position now to where we have freedom, and we never knew what that looked like before. So, you know, Advocare completely changed our lives, not only physically by losing weight and having more energy and creating a better circle of friends, but financially, it's been unbelievable. So, you know, when time management comes into it, yeah, I worked my bottom off to become a nurse. I mean, I went through a lot to get where I am, and I made myself a promise, not only to myself, but to my kids, that I would never be a dependent woman ever again. So I decided to, you know, go on with my nursing and make it to where I could have a life that I wanted, that I could make choices. And, you know, I heard stories of stay-at-home moms, and I heard stories of, you know, the freedom that you can have. And for me, I love being a nurse, but I love having the option to be a nurse as well. I love being able to take time off to go to Success School and not have to worry if I have PTO. I love being able to go to an all expense paid Disney World vacation with my children and not have to worry that I'm not getting paid from my corporate job while we're gone. And so, you know, one of the big things that Advocare has done for us was we moved from Oregon in July. My husband left a 6-figure income, very, very stressful job. And because of Advocare, we were able to make that change. Getting out of that debt and not having that to worry about. I mean, money does not make the world go round. It does not create happiness. A stressful job, just because it's a good paying job, it's not worth it. So we know that now. I will probably be a nurse forever. I don't see that going away. But what I love is that I can build Advocare part-time on the side and make just as much, if not more, that I make as a nurse working full-time. So yeah, it's been amazing. We just went on our 3rd incentive trip via Advocare, which is amazing. I've never been to Hawaii or New York or Disney World, and I can scratch all those off my bucket list now because I've helped people. You know, one of the biggest things when people ask me all the time, like, how do you do this? How do you have time? Because I love when I get on 3-way calls, when I talk to another person on the phone, whether it's a mom or dad or student or whoever, and they say, gosh, you know, I'm just too busy to do that. And I'll say, really? So how many kids do you have? Oh, 2. I have 7. And they're like, what? So, one of the biggest things, and if, you know, the people that are watching this, if you've got a pen, one of the biggest things I can say is the word busy itself. What busy means to me is because you say yes to something else. That's the only reason why you're too busy to build Advocare. Because you are saying yes to something else that's not going to allow you to build your business. Because honestly, I mean, I put myself in positions all the time, whether I'm at my kids' baseball games or softball games or volleyball or wherever we're at. Advocare goes with me everywhere I go. It's a part of my life. So I feel like I'm always ready for business with Advocare. And, you know, actively building a business, sure, that definitely looks a little bit different. And, you know, I kind of wrote down a few things that, you know, do you want me to just jump into it, Marcy?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Yeah.
So when looking at time, so time management is huge. Now, if we think about it, there are 24 hours in a day. And if you're anybody that's not like me, let's just say people like to get 8 hours of sleep. Okay, so if you have 24 hours a day, that gives you 168 hours in 1 week. If you're sleeping 8 hours a day, that would be 56 hours a week that you're spent sleeping. Now, if you have a 40-hour per week job, which, you know, a lot of people do, there's 40 hours a week that you're working in the corporate world or, you know, whatever that looks like for you. You have 72 hours a week left of time. Now, sure, if you live in the Phoenix area, the Metroplex area, you're spend time traveling. I spend 45 minutes on my way to work and on my way home. But what are you doing in that 45 minutes? Complaining about how bad the traffic is, or are you building your Advocare business? Because I'll tell you, I've done a lot of 3-way calls. I've done a lot of trainings. I've done a lot of, you know, introductions and prospect calls and everything on my way home. That's 45 minutes in my car where I have no children, I have no husband, I have no excuses. So that's time to build. But if you were to take those 72 hours a week, and I'll tell you, I've built Advocare over time, I would say on average 10 to 15 hours a week when I decided to get intentional. So 10 to 15 hours a week out of 72 hours of free time, that's not saying that you have to quit your life, you guys. I mean, I know a lot of people say, oh, give up golfing and give up this and give up that. It's not that. If those things introduce you to people, if that puts you in a position where you're meeting new people, go for it, because you need to meet new people. You need new people on product. You know, for me, I tell people on our team that even if you want to start off slow, if you want to make, you know, $500 every 2 weeks with Advocare, you've got to actively do Advocare at minimum 7 hours a week. I mean, that's minimum of actively doing Advocare. And that's not being on training calls like that. That's not being on your website messing around with numbers. That's not, you know, making lists of people that you're gonna talk to. Active advocare time. This is my list of actively doing advocare. Prospect calling, like actually picking up the phone and calling people, or doing 3-way calls so that you're helping build your team. Meeting with people, physically meeting with people or doing Zoom meetings with people so that you're actually actively doing advocare. Sampling people, personally sampling or talking to somebody and getting samples in the mail to them. That's actively doing advocare. Coaching, because it's so important. If you're not coaching your people on your team, they're not going to continue to be product users. So coaching it is a huge piece of it. That's actively doing advocare. I could sit and scroll Facebook for hours. I could sit and scroll through my microsite for hours. And it's hours, you guys. People don't realize how long it takes for time to go by. I mean, it passes by quickly. If you want to build bigger, you have to commit to about 15 active hours per week. And remember, if you're an 8-hour night sleeper, which bless you if you are, I know I'm not. And if you're working a 40-hour-a-week job, you still have 72 hours left. So if you actively build advocare 15 hours, you still got a lot of free time to still live your life and do what you want. But, you know, if you can, in 15 hours, so say that's 2 hours a day, or maybe that's, 4 hours in one day because you're off on certain days or whatever that looks like for you, you can build this thing and you can make it whatever level you want it to be. And you're going to help a lot of people in the process, and you can completely change your future to make it whatever you want. There's pretend work that's also involved in this. And the pretend work is what really confuses people a lot of times, because they'll say, but I've been doing advocare. I've talked to everybody. I've done everything. No, you haven't. If you've talked to 50 people and they've all said no, are you like, stick them in the eyeball with a stick, or what is going on? Because that's not a proper average. If you go talk to 50 people and 5 of them say yes, that's pretty good. I mean, that's a good average, honestly. I mean, it does. It takes talking to a lot of people for them all to say yes right at first. But here's pretend work. Pretend work is wearing your colors. Just because I have an advocare sticker on my car, just because I'm wearing an advocare shirt or I have an advocare bottle, it doesn't mean anything. All that means is that if somebody's curious, they might go on the website, they might look up advocare, and they might find somebody else on the leads program to go check in with. And that's the reality of it. Making lists. You can make lists until your hands are raw and you're blue in the face. If you're not actively doing something with that list, it's like making a grocery list and never going grocery shopping. Watching trainings. Trainings are super important, and doing your Sunday Zoom training calls, they're extremely important because you've got to plug in. You've got to light your fire. But if you're doing 15 hours actively, that's not active training. That's extra. That's extra building you time, which you need to do as well. Complaining about what people on your team aren't doing. That is not actively building advocare. That's pretend work again. And I've been there. Trust me, people are frustrating. You see it more than they do sometimes, but complaining about it isn't going to get you anywhere. If they want it, they'll do it. If they don't want it, that's okay. They might come back around. Go find somebody else that does. Because, if you're here in the Arizona area, the last time I checked, there's over 4 million people that live here. I came from a town of Medford, Oregon, where we had 85,000 people, and we built it to a Ruby business. You don't need 1 million people on product. You need a lot of people on a little bit of product, but you don't need 1 million of them, trust me. With that being said, the last thing of pretend work is Facebook and social media. You can make a Facebook post and you can make a social media Instagram post, but unless you're actively messaging people or you're actively doing something with it, it's not gonna be active advocare. That doesn't count. I'm not saying any of those things are bad, because you should always wear your colors. You should always, reach out to people on social media, if they're interested. But don't get caught thinking that that's your 15 hours a week of actively building advocare, because it's not. Now, this, of course, just goes for people that are working 40 hours a week, like myself. If you're watching this training and if you're a stay-at-home parent and you're not where you want to be yet, why? Why not? Because I'm super jealous of the people that have more than 72 hours a week of free time. With the time management piece, I will share this and then I'll open it up to any questions, but you have to make sure that you're saving time for, if you're married, for your spouse, And if you have a family, for your family. And that was one thing that took me about a year to realize, because my husband doesn't actively build AdvoCare with me, but he supports me 150%. He doesn't like to come to meetings and events. He's just not a real social type person, but he'll stay home with the kids while I go, or he'll take them to baseball or whatever they need to do. But here's one thing. We have a designated date night and we have a designated family night. And we rarely schedule outside those circles. So prior to moving here to Arizona, we both had the same work schedule. So Friday nights after 6, it was date night. That doesn't necessarily mean that we went anywhere. We just put our phones down and it was us time. Sundays after 6 was family time. Kids put their phones away. Mom and dad put our phone away. Again, we may not go anywhere or do anything, but people on our team knew I wasn't doing three-way phone calls. I wasn't meeting with people, and I wasn't doing mixers on Sundays after 6 o'clock. Now that might look different for you, but it is important. It's important to have the difference, because if you go out to, dinner on a Friday night with your husband and you don't have those rules in place, the last thing you want is to be redirecting your attention on social media, thinking that you're building an AdvoCare business when really you're just wasting time and ruining your relationship. So, time management's huge. And if you can figure it out and realize that you have a lot more time than you realize, and you need to say yes to the things that are actually going to help build your future, because you say yes to the things that matter, you'll really find out that being busy with AdvoCare is just as fun as being busy with something else. You're just going to get residual income out of it in the end.
Wow, Jen, that is phenomenal. Like, I took so many notes, girl. This was just, oh my gosh, this is such a great training. So let me ask you this, because I know because you know how in AdvoCare business, it can be up and down. Sometimes people think like success just goes straight up. So when you have those down moments, like, what are the thoughts? Because I know it's easy for all of us to think like, oh my gosh, this isn't working. So how do you kind of override that? What would you tell somebody if they're like, gosh, this isn't working, I'm feeling like my business isn't growing? What would you tell them with that?
So for me, I always have to look at myself first. What am I doing? It's not what my team's doing, because usually if you don't feel like you're growing, a lot of the times it's because people on your team may quit or life happens. I mean, we had 3 people on our team last year that were huge business builders, star legs, that all got divorced. So life happened for all of them at one time. But I think that the best thing for me is to look back and think of all of the things that AdvoCare has provided us, and know that even if you've only made, say, $100 with AdvoCare, if you received a phone call today and they said, you know what, you're right, your business isn't working, so we'll go ahead and take that $100 back. Do you have it to give? Because I tell you, I'm never going to give back the 3 trips that we've earned. I'm never going to give back the, over $200,000 that we've earned since we first started in 2013. I love these products, and I will use these products for the rest of my life, no matter what. I have faith, and I know that there's a lot of people that need these products. Everybody needs these products. If for some reason, and I'm saying this honestly, if tomorrow my business went out the window and I never made another dollar with AdvoCare, I will still use these products every single day, and I will still love the opportunity. And they can't take away the fact that I have changed so many lives. I have paid off debt. I have done all these things. The only one that's in control of your business stopping is you. We are in complete control of our PGV. So if our PGV isn't growing, whose fault is that? It's not our next door neighbor that didn't reorder. It's not our downline that said that they were going to have a mixer and they didn't. It's us. We need to go talk to more people. So I have to consistently encourage myself and remind myself of the things that we've gained in this business, and understand that what other job are you going to go find that you can do while you're watching your child's ball game? It doesn't exist. And even if you're, I had written down, if you're doing AdvoCare 10 hours a week and you make a check of $500 every 2 weeks, 10 hours a week, that's 20 hours of AdvoCare, and you're making $25 an hour. How are you going to do that with anything else that you don't have to go clock in for 8 hours a day, that you can do on your own time sitting poolside? You can't. So yeah, there's going to be ups and downs, but it's worth it. It's totally worth it.
Yeah. I mean, and I always think too, I mean, going back to how you guys started going to Successful, your first Successful was 2015. What do you think changed after Successful? Because I know a lot of times the event may not be priority for people. So if you can kind of share like how important the events are, and not just for them, but also for bringing people along, but what they're learning. Because I even know sometimes if somebody doesn't have somebody to event, they're like, well, I didn't have anyone to bring, so I'm not going. So kind of give your take on that. Like what is Successful? Like why you go to school, you went to school for a long time to be, an LPN, right? And you made that commitment. And sometimes we don't make that commitment in Advocare, but essentially Successful and events are our school. So how would you kind of describe how important the events are for people, even if they don't have someone coming?
So, the events are huge because it allows you to encircle yourself in the heartbeat of Advocare. And, you may go there and you might not have anybody with you, but it might be for a reason. It might be because you just need to be there and you need to take in one story of what you might hear. You may just need to be reminded of what got you started in the first place. Your new people need to see more than just what they see on an everyday basis or every week basis. They need to see, yes, that person reminds me of my next door neighbor. That person reminds me of myself. These are the things that I want in life. People don't understand until they see it themselves. I didn't go to Successful in 2014 because my sister-in-law got married. In 2015, I saved up to go. Like I planned for it for a whole year and I made my husband go with me. But he was able to see what I saw. You just see that there's more to this company than just drinking Spark and popping vitamins. I mean, people really do care about you. And, this last year we moved here 4th of July weekend to Arizona. And 2 weeks later, I flew to Texas to go to Success School without my husband because he was dealing with the kids and getting ready to start school. And, going into that Success School, it was like, man, I thought our team would grow and I thought we'd have a lot more people. And, all these things go through your head, but you know what? None of that mattered. The people that were supposed to be there were there. And I know that there's a lot more people that are going to be with me next time. And they might be brand new people. But if you want people to go with you, you have to be the leader and lead by example. And sometimes that can be really hard. But you have to kind of swallow your pride a little bit and you have to really focus on your goals. And sometimes if you've kind of lost your way, it's almost that way to rebuild that purpose again and reignite your fire, like plugging in your cell phone. If the battery dies, what do? You got to charge it up. And how do we get charged? By Successful and by larger events.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Like I've always related it to, if you take like some time out of the gym or something, like you kind of get out of that motivated time to get in the gym and it's hard to get back in the gym. But if you're consistently plugging yourself in, it's just consistently feeding your mind and keeps that positive stuff going. Now since you are so busy, how do you track your customers for best coaching practices and how do you stay organized with your follow-up? Like, do you have some sort of system, app? How do you kind of do that?
So recently I started using WhatsApp to do my Jumpstart and my 180 groups. I have a new WhatsApp scheduled for every Monday start. And I do have a couple people on our team that are automatically in those groups to help generate people in there so that we have a great community. With that, it just really helps because those WhatsApps can stay forever. So you have the people, whether we're all on day 7 right now and we're doing it together and it's amazing. I do have follow-up sheets in a binder that I keep of the customers that I've had so that I can help to remind them. Because before we had the commit option, we had to remind people, okay, it's day 14, got to think about ordering. And, okay, now it's day 80. It's about time for us to all redo a cleanse again. And, it can become a little bit overwhelming, but you have to remember that, people aren't always putting themselves as a priority. And so we have to put them as a priority by coaching them. And people love that. People really do love the fact that we do care and that we're not just trying to sell them something so we can get a paycheck. And when you really coach people properly, it's a huge benefit because they really do see the value in what you're bringing to them. With that, the follow-up is huge, because if you just kind of forget about people, which it's easy to do, but if you have a binder kind of set up or a WhatsApp that you know that every day you're going to go check. I mean, because I can check my WhatsApp from anywhere. I can check. I post in the morning at 5:30 in the morning. It doesn't notify people until they wake up and they can look at it. And that's my daily accountability for the groups. And it makes it a lot simpler for me.
Oh, wow. I love that. That's definitely really good. And here's one of the last questions. So, if you had 1 minute 1 hour in your day, like what activities would you focus on in that hour? Like business building activities. What would you focus on?
Depending on what part of the pay period it is, I'll be very honest, beginning of the pay period, I get this question a lot. So like, what do you do on Wednesday morning? So I've heard people take a break on Wednesday. Wednesday's not my time to take a break. Wednesday's one of my busiest days because Wednesday I'm starting at 0. And my goal is to get $1,000 PGV as fast as possible so that I can gauge where everybody else on my team is. Because I personally feel like I can't help my teammates unless I can see what's going on. So what I do on Wednesday morning is I go through and I look at who's on my front line that needs to get to the next discount level. So whether that's a preferred customer or it's a distributor, I write all those names down and I shoot them out a message. Hey, Jamie, you're, $50 away from the 30% discount, whatever that is, so that I can help those people and I'll, be able to, that's an early notice. Because if you wait till the, Tuesday at 10 o'clock at night of the pay period close, it kind of sucks for people because I am just not that, I need to be organized more than that. I don't have time to wait till Tuesday at 10 o'clock to put in an order. 1 hour of active advocare time for me, a lot of times on my days off, looks like, meeting with people, doing Zoom calls with people, really engaging with people, because that's what's going to build my business is people. So whether that's a brand new person that's really excited and I'm going to be scheduling an hour to tell them, okay, let's get 2 people on a phone call. Let's do half-hour 3-way calls. In the next hour, I've got 1 hour on Tuesday. Let's do this. And then that's what I'll do. Because if you're always helping somebody that's brand new, then you're always, engaging that new business, which is building new legs. Or if you're helping a brand new person that's, a prospect of your own, it's the same thing. You're always constantly wanting to build new legs.
So good. Okay. So, and so this kind of, I know I said one last question, but this kind of jumps into like how to plan your pay period. So basically on that Wednesday, that's kind of when you go through your front line, move everyone to the next discount level, maybe check in on some customers that maybe possibly didn't order that last pay period and just see how they're doing, checking in on them. And I'm sure it's normal for you that when you're checking in, like sometimes people don't respond, and that's okay because life is busy. And and I know when I first started, and and some of the new business builders, they kind of feel like defeated, like they're bothering someone, and it's like, no, you're never bothering. Like life is busy, like so go ahead and follow up again, right? So you'll like follow up another time, correct?
Right. So, and I can tell you that learning lessons the hard way really suck. But once you do it once, you won't do it again. So I was that person. I didn't want to bother people. I didn't want people to feel like I was trying to sell them something. I didn't want to make people feel like I was trying to make them spend money, until the one time that I had a friend, and she was a friend. She was $150 away from the next discount level. And this was when, pay periods were dropping off, and it was, a little bit more difficult than it is now. But I'll never forget that next morning after pay period closed on Wednesday, she logged into her site and she was suddenly like $1,000 away from the next discount. And she lit me up. Why didn't you tell me? I had no idea I was going to put in an order, but I didn't think it mattered, because sometimes people don't understand what a pay period close is. Some people have no clue. So what I will do is I will not only let people know, like, hey, you're $150 away from the 30% discount, which would cost you, and I'll tell them exactly how much it's going to cost. I will do that on that first Wednesday. And then by Friday, because if you live a life like I do, we live very frugal. So, we still do, paydays on Friday, grocery money, the whole 9 yards. people get paid on Fridays usually, so they may not have had money on Wednesday. So Friday I'll come along and I will send out that same message again, and I'll just say, hey, I know it's payday Friday, just wanted to make sure you knew that this is how far you are away from the discount. Let me know that you got this text.
Yeah.
Because I'm a big texter. It's a lot easier for me to text. I don't like my phone ringing and I don't know who's calling me. I'm too busy. I'm busy doing something else. But when I do call people and leave them messages, I will make sure to leave a message. A lot of times I do make phone calls for people like on our team or maybe some prospects or whatever. I'll call them during the workday because I'm off a couple of days during the week. And if they call me back, I know that they're intentional because that has to fit in with my time too. I would love to catch up with people and talk on the phone with them for an hour, but if that's my hour to do advocare time, catching up isn't quite what my plan was. So I'll call people and leave a quick message, hey, it's Jen, just wanted to let you know I'm just doing my reports. And I let people know, they know I'm running a business. I'm looking at my reports. This is what I see. I wanted to follow up. Here's where you're at. And I just want to let you know, don't be afraid to let people know you're running a business, because the more organized you seem with your business, when they're ready to build a business, why wouldn't they follow you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, people want to go with the strong people that have a system so they can show them the way. Right. I just got this text. Okay, so can you give the last two? So what they're saying is, what do you say when you're out and you're at one of your kids' games? How do you start a conversation to bring Advocare into that? And I'm sure sometimes it doesn't come in, but they want to know, like, what do you say? And so maybe if you can give like maybe the last two customers that you had, maybe you can kind of give those examples of how that happened, how that played out. That would probably be helpful.
Sure. Yeah. The biggest thing I can say is learn how to be a really good listener, because especially here in Arizona, what I've noticed is that there's a lot of people that are in health, like that really care about the newest, latest fad or whatever they're doing. Or a lot of people talk about going to the gym and they talk about, running and hiking and meeting up and doing all of these things together. So a perfect example actually is today at work, there was two girls that were talking about, getting ready for this wedding that's coming up. And so I just asked, I'm like, so what are you guys doing to get ready for the wedding? And she's like, well, what do you mean? I said, well, you're talking about wanting to fit into this dress. What exactly are you doing? Well, we don't know yet. I need to lose 10 pounds. And all I said was, I help people do that. If you're interested, I would love to share the program that I do. I don't say, oh, I sell Advocare. I don't make it weird. I just tell people that's what I do. I help people do that. And I would love to help you if you're interested. A lot of times at the ball field, what comes up is Gatorade, Powerade. I had a mom talking about how, gosh, do you realize how much sugar is in Gatorade? And then I will say, yeah, that's why Kobe doesn't drink Gatorade. He drinks this product called Rehydrate because it's only got 6 grams of sugar. Oh, what is it? And then I'm always open for business. So I always have product samples with me, and I will say, here, this is Rehydrate. Yes, I do sell it. I can get it to you for a discount. If you're interested, I would love to help you. I run a business and I'm okay with running a business. It doesn't have to be awkward. Not everybody says yes. Some people will say, no, thanks anyway. That's okay. But their next door neighbor's like, well, give it to me then. I'm interested. And it's happened. I can't say that every single game that I'm at that it happens, or every single practice, but building relationships with people at those games and at those practices is great too. When the moms are showing up and they're completely exhausted at 9 o'clock in the morning and I'm cheering my kid on, they notice. And, so it's just being a product of the product and being prepared to share and not making it awkward, because you can make it awkward. I've seen it happen. Just think about how, somebody would approach you and how you would feel if, hey, I heard you talking about wanting to lose weight. Well, I sell this Advocare stuff. And you know what I mean? Like, you can totally make it awkward, or you can just be in a mindset of knowing that what we have to offer is absolutely amazing and people are going to take it or leave it, and be okay with leaving it. Like, I went and got my hair done by a new girl the other day, and I didn't, splatter Advocare all over, but I did share that, she was telling me she has, a $500 car payment. She's not sure how she's going to pay it. And I said, well, that's why I'm thankful that 4 years ago we started a business and we don't have a car payment. Well, what business do you do? It's called Advocare. Well, how do you do that? She says, oh, is it like that It Works thing? I said, well, I guess you could say it's multi-level marketing, but it actually does work. And so she said, well, I've spent $600 on those wraps. And I said, sure. But what I actually do is I teach people how to eat properly, how to feel and look amazing from the inside out. And I actually coach them, and I just make really good friends. she was totally in. I'm supposed to meet with her on Tuesday this week on my day off, and we're supposed to get together and chat about AdvoCare and getting her on a program. So, you know, just always be open for business and don't make it awkward. Just be honest and be okay with, you know, sharing with people that you have an opportunity for them that can help the situation they're in. If they don't want it, be okay with that, because somebody else will.
Yeah, so good, so good. I remember reading one of the books that, because it's so big into personal development, and I remember reading one of the books, and it said, do you get offended if, say there's a server going to offer everyone coffee, because that's what they do, and do you think that they get offended when you say no? They don't. They just move on to the next person, and it's just kind of having that. And I know it takes a little bit of time, but you're a business owner, and it's not for everyone, but it is for, you want to help those people. So this was phenomenal, Jen. Like, I totally appreciate you taking the time out to do this. I know one thing that I know that you shared, you've been able to do this as a plan B income alongside of what you're already doing, alongside of being a mom, alongside of being a wife. Can you just say, like, your earnings to date since 2013? I know you're
sure.
Okay, awesome.
I know that. Yeah, I know a lot of people look and say, oh, you're Ruby, so you average $85,000 a year. Well, there's a lot of different levels of pins, and a pin doesn't define my business or who I am. We're not exactly where we want to be right now by any means, but when you add it all up, in 2013, without intentionally building AdvoCare as a business, I was able to bring in a little over $5,000. 2014, we brought in $16,500. 2015 was $38,500. 2016, $48,500. 2017, a little over $58,000. And then our last 1099 for last year was $64,000. So that totals a little over $230,000 since 2013. And if I added up the amount of time that it took me to make $230,000 without going to school or having to get a degree or sell my soul to the corporate world, I don't know anything else that I could have done building a business and making amazing friends like you, Marcy. I mean, it's just awesome to be able to meet people like this and, go on 3 all expense paid trips. And it's just, sometimes I know it's hard, you guys, but oh my gosh, it is just so worth it. The one thing I will say before I get off here is this. You'll hear a lot of times if you go to events and you'll hear that there's no special secret. There's no, planned statement for AdvoCare, but I don't believe that's true. I do believe there's a secret with AdvoCare. And the secret is this. You have to make a decision that you're never going to quit. If you can do that, you can do anything.
So good, girl. So I got this. Jen says this is $1 million training, and I totally agree with her, girl. This was just so solid. Thank you so much. I know you got to get home to your family, but I really appreciate it. I'm so looking forward to seeing you next weekend here at Spring Breakthrough. This is gonna be exciting.
Yes. If anybody's there, come find me. Come say hi.
Yes.
I don't have a big team here yet. I might have 2 people show up. I don't know for sure yet. If I have to pick them up myself and drag them there, they're supposed to come, but I will be doing a small training segment. But yeah, please come find me and say hi. I would love to meet everybody and, make sure you're at Spring Breakthrough.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jen. Have an awesome night.
Thank you. Good night.